first 5 minutes, I'm just trying to get my breathing together, just trying to find what feels good, what in terms of the resistance, in terms of my pace. Next 5 minutes, oh, I'm feeling good. Let's just bump it up a notch. And I just try to get a little bit faster every 5 minutes. So that's always been my strategy with it. It's worked for me. Usually the last 2 minutes, I'm trying to go all out.
Okay, guys, let's talk a little bit more about the off season. And I know in previous videos, previous chats amongst us, we have provided our listeners and viewers some opportunity to understand sort of like what we do in the off season, sort of like how we formulate what we're going to be doing, how we're focusing in our efforts and energy. But as we start getting into the off season, I know we are already working on our new Tri-3-1-2 indoor tri series and what those dates and locations will be. But we also know that other groups and organizations are already scheduling theirs out coming up. So Joy, first off, like tell us what are some of the other organizations and groups, clubs that are already doing some indoor tries, and where are they?
So we have Experience Tri. They're mostly in the burbs. They have 3, I believe, indoor tries. The first one is starting January 19th in Lyle, I believe. 10-minute swim, 20-minute bike, 15-minute run. Very doable. If you cannot swim, and I like to preface this because people hear the word triathlon, they freak out. You can walk the swim.
Not all indoor shots.
Shallow, you can walk them.
Yeah, there's a couple. It's always a good thing to check when you're signing up for an indoor try. You can always contact the race directors, but some of them have the shallow pools all the way across. Some of them have a deep end. So you definitely want to check that, especially with some of the ones that are at pools you're familiar with.
Yep.
And then Grit Endurance, they're hosting 2 indoor tries at FFC Union Station. I do not know the.
We have Saturday, January 18th and Saturday, March 8th are the dates so far. So, yeah.
And there's a few more that we are hoping to announce some exciting changes to our Tri-3-1-2 indoor try series. So stay tuned for our dates. But there's also other groups. Northwestern Triathlon Club does a great indoor try as well. And there might be some others because in the collegiate triathlon world, the collegiate clubs, there's a lot of kind of almost like intramural style, like universities and colleges that go travel to each other and race each other at their respective indoor tries. I know Northwestern group goes all the way to like Ohio State even. They travel and do indoor tries, and it's just a great way to stay motivated through the off season.
Yeah. So I think Coach Joy, you've alluded to something that's I think is prevalent throughout sort of our general tri community, is especially for those that are new to the sport or looking for entry into the sport. So we wanted to talk a little bit more about what are indoor triathlons, like why they're so beneficial to developing your skill sets, not only for being a first timer and just learning the sport, how to put all 3 things together, but also for veterans that are looking to tune up for the next season or for their next race. So, Coach Joy, from your perspective, what do you find as your like the top benefits of doing an indoor try?
One, it's something fun to do. What would you do on a Saturday or Sunday? Okay, maybe. Challenge yourself, but also to see where your fitness. But also to see, okay, if I'm a veteran, if I might have taken some time off, where are my weaknesses are? Am I having problems getting from the swim to the bike? Am I having problems of going from cycling to running? If I'm a beginner, okay, I just did a swim. You mean I gotta go to a bike now? Okay, I got on the bike. How do I pace myself so I don't get so gassed on the bike where I can't do a run. It's a way of putting all three together. But it's also just a non-intimidating way of entering the sport. And if that's still a little like, if you're a beginner, volunteer or go with a friend and just see everything. My first entry into the world of triathlon was actually volunteering first, but then doing an indoor tri. I had no clue what I was doing. I backstroked the swim. I managed the bike because I was teaching spin classes at that time, and the treadmill was like, okay, it's a treadmill. So it's a good way of, one, challenging yourself, two, seeing where your fitness is as a fitness check. So whatever your race is going into 2025 season, you can see where you are.
Good, great. Coach Chris, I mean, you've organized and managed and facilitated these for years now. I know some of the first indoor tries that I ever experienced here in Chicago were with you over at the FFC over in Lincoln Park. So from your years of experience facilitating these, you know, if you're reaching out to those new athletes that are like, okay, well, I'm not sure, like, well, maybe I'm going to take Coach Joy's advice. I'm going to volunteer. I want to help out, kind of see what this experience is. What for you is the biggest benefit for athletes, but also, you know, what are some of the other benefits if you're like reaching out to coaches out there on why maybe getting athletes to come to do an indoor try?
Yeah, well, I think especially for us, being in the Midwest, where our triathlon season, the Chicago area is only about 3 months old, being able to do triathlon for the other 3/4 of the year, I think is important, you know, for anyone's development, motivation, mental health as much as physical health. Having something to do that's fun and engaging in the off season. You know, it's great for a number of reasons. Obviously, I'm biased, and Joy and I think, have been producing them together for almost 15 years now. So we've put together probably over, I think, 100 indoor tries by now, between the two of us. And you know, the things that I always see that are really unique are, one, it's the only type of, you know, endurance race that I really know of where the slowest athlete and the fastest athlete start and finish together.
Mhm.
So we've literally had pro athletes like one of our own, Jackie Godby, you know, she turned pro, and actually just this past weekend we got to mention she raced in the esports world championship.
Oh, rock on.
11th in the world.
Wow.
In
That's cool.
cycling against professional cyclists. So anyhow, top athlete on the planet. And we have people who race side by side with her, first timers, and you get to start together, finish together, and cheer each other on. So it's kind of unique from that perspective. It's a great way to get friends into the sport if you want to get friends or family members, you know, mother, daughter, father, sons. We had them race side by side, which is a lot of fun. So it's really, really, you know, great. It's engaging for beginners. It's a great way to get new people into the sport. But overall, it's just a great fitness check. So if you're someone who's like, oh, I'm worried about the swim, I'm worried about doing a triathlon.
Yeah.
The goal is simply, in a lot of these indoor tries, to do just a 10-minute swim.
Mhm.
And so it gives you a goal to build towards. If you can get to a 10-minute swim on an indoor try, you're well on your way to being more than ready for an outdoor triathlon.
So for some, like we're going to go through one discipline at a time now. So like talking about the swim, Coach Joy, you said like you did your first one doing backstroke the whole way through. You also mentioned a little bit earlier that I could just walk right on through it, depending on how the pool is designed. So for those athletes that are like, okay, well, I don't feel like I'm a strong swimmer. How is this going to be judged? Can I touch the wall? Can I take a break? Can I put my feet down? Can I do another stroke besides freestyle? What are the answers to those questions?
Yeah, I mean, in general, the indoor tries are very beginner friendly. A lot of them don't necessarily follow USA Triathlon rules, so there might be pretty flexible rules on different parts of the race. But in general, yeah, you swim in the pool and you touch wall to wall, and they count your laps, and the results are done simply by how much distance you cover
In that 10 minutes.
in a set amount of time.
Yeah.
But you can stop if you need to take a breather. There are folks who just learned how to just basically learn how to kick and float on their back. They'll hit the wall. Okay, think about it, wait a couple of seconds, go to the next wall. So there is no, oh, you can't touch your feet on the floor. You have to do freestyle. Whatever stroke gets you from point A to point B.
Yeah.
Different strokes for different folks.
We once had an athlete win one of the indoor tries, aqua jogging half of the swim.
Oh, there you go.
I've even had an athlete who literally took a swim lesson with me and then signed up to do an indoor try that weekend, just learning for their first time how to make it across the pool 25 yards. So they just, did a glide and kicked and got to the other end of the pool, would stop for about 2 minutes to get there.
There you go.
Then would do another 25 yards. Full laps, but they were able to get through the swim and then get into the biking and the running, and they had a blast. So it literally works for anybody. And even the competitive athletes, like if you're someone who just is a more competitive athlete, it's one of the best forms of speed work you can do as a triathlete. Like I personally have had my best performing triathlon seasons the years I did the most indoor tries in the winter and spring leading into those seasons.
It's definitely a higher intensity than I think especially for those that do long courses, is a much higher intensity than you're planning on doing for the majority of your event. But for those that are sprint athletes, Olympic athletes, that they pride themselves on that distance and going strong, going hard, going those like zone 3, zone 4s. For those of you number like nerds out there, you're going intensely for a good full hour, and for a lot of sprinters and even some Olympic athletes, I mean, that's kind of like that how hard you're going to be going for that entire time. So how fast and how hard can you go for 10 minutes, for 20 minutes, for 15? Yeah.
You guys know having my own metabolic lab and geeking out on VO2 and lactate testing and all that to figure out people's heart rate zones. The indoor try is one of the best field tests, so to speak, that you can do. It's in a controlled environment, and you can figure out your heart rate zones, whatever your average heart rate is.
Yeah.
If you average out the swim, bike, and run, you look at, if you have a heart rate monitor, look at what your average is across those. That's going to be pretty much spot on with where your lactate threshold is. Your up to 1 hour, heart
threshold. So we're talking threshold here.
Yeah. It's a great way, to benchmark where your threshold is in any time of year. Just do an indoor try.
So that's a great pitch to the coaches out there, that if you're trying to convince your athletes on like what sort of things that you can do to sort of get early season metrics.
Yeah. And the bike, generally, most indoor tries, some of them, they might be 15 minutes, but most of them are 20 to 30 minutes for an indoor try. Mm-hmm. And guess what? 20 minutes is a industry standard for benchmarking bike fitness as your functional threshold power, your FTP. So whatever power you can hold for those 20 minutes, that tells us where your fitness is on the bike. So I secretly have been using that as a coach for the last 15 years as a way to get all of my athletes to do FTP testing. They sometimes might not want to, but if you do it in a fun and competitive environment, it's easy to get motivated to do it. And same with the run too.
Yeah. So before we get into the bike, I'm going to quiz Coach Joy on this, on that portion. But so now we've gone through the swim, we've made it through, we've done 10 minutes in the swim, which I believe is pretty standard for like how long an indoor tri event swim is. So it's
15 minutes.
Okay, 10 to 15 minutes. We're getting as much distance in that time. So there's no set distance in most of these in that case. So it's a 10-minute, 15-minute swim. You're getting as much distance as you can with how you're going to swim, how you ever navigate it. So now we transition. So I'm pretty sure for most of these, like when we're inside an indoor facility in a gym, say we're here at Lakeshore, here downtown, we're probably not going to be transitioning like out of a bathing suit into our tri kits, like on the pool deck. So so explain like sort of like, what does a transition typically look like? How does one effectively move from swim to bike? Given that we have to probably not only like change potentially clothes, but also change into a locker room, change into a whole other facility for where the bike's going to be set up.
So the transition is usually 10 minutes between the end of the swim going into the bike. So there's a couple ways you can do it. Some folks will do a change in the locker room. If there is a locker room, they'll do a complete change. Tricky part, putting on dry clothes on a wet bike.
Mhm.
So there are some folks who will just actually opt for their tri shorts and wear just throw on a tri top or a cycling jersey. Socks or no socks, depending on if you're wearing cycling shoes or not, no cycling shoes or just running shoes. And then just figuring out going from the swim to the bike, where the bike is. Sometimes the bikes are right outside of where the pool is. Maybe you might have to go up a few flights of stairs to get to the bikes. So it's very simple, but if you're brand new trying to figure out, okay, I need to wear a swimsuit for the pool. Okay, I need to get out of the swimsuit and put on some cycling shorts and a top, and maybe I might need to put on a sports bra. Pro tip, keep the sports bra on. I'm just going to tell you, it will save you a lot of problems. So it really depends.
And and there's most of the time there's going to be volunteers that will be there to help give you guidance on where to go. Like, this is where the locker room is. This is where you get to go to the bike.
Even your friends who are helping you as well.
Yeah, it's a great way to get a taste of the triathlon atmosphere. You get usually a set amount of time, usually 10 minutes to do the transition from swim to bike, and then 5 minutes to the transition from bike to run. But that time goes by pretty quick, a lot faster than you think. And so it gives you that kind of race atmosphere, which is a fun taste of triathlon.
Yeah. So speaking of which, so now we've gotten on the bike, and most of the times we're on some kind of watt bike or spin bike or stationary. So, Coach Joy, in your experience, so like what does an athlete need to experience? What do they need to think about when they approach the bike portion of an indoor ride? Because they're not on their own bike most times. They're not on a trainer. They're not setting up. They're in their own casual, comfortable setup. So when they get to that bike, what do they need to be thinking about?
It's adjusted to you. Just don't hop on the bike. Make sure that the saddle is not going to drop down. Make sure you're having enough reach if it's not too far of a stretch. You want to be as comfortable as you possibly can on a spin bike or a walk bike, because you're not on your bike. And that's the biggest thing.
And you can ask for help. Usually the volunteers and staff around will guide you if you have trouble. And most of them are on spin bikes, like you mentioned, and a lot of them have power meters, so you can see your power and heart rate data. Everyone's focused on that. And a lot of them will have clipless pedals of some kind, so you can always check that ahead of time to find out if you can bring clipless bike shoes to clip into.
Because I'm sure we'll be asking, do I need to have clip-in shoes?
Yeah. You can use regular sneakers. Sometimes I even now, like, just if I'm going to do an indoor try and I just want to keep things super simple, I don't even bring my bike shoes. I just wear regular sneakers. You still get a great workout. Maybe you lose a little bit on the upstroke of your pedal stroke, but that's about it. So it's fun either way.
So for those that have maybe never done a sprint workout in a spin class, or have done a hard Peloton something on like at home, or have never done an FTP test, when they get to the bike and then it's 20 minutes going as hard as they can, getting as much distance as they can on that bike, what are you typically telling athletes, especially if they're new?
My biggest tip is stay hydrated.
Okay. Yeah.
Because even though for an experienced athlete, it might not seem like that long of an event, I don't know about you guys, but I will sweat through and consume in an indoor try, usually 2 on the bike and then 1 on the run, just because my sweat rate ends up being so high. And if you're burning through a lot of carbs, you might need a little bit of sugar, Gatorade or something. So it's actually good to think about a fueling plan, even for a short distance event, just so that you're feeling like you can perform to the best of your abilities. Hydrate and smile is always my tip. Focus on staying relaxed and breathing. Get more oxygen into your body. That helps you produce a little more power. So just being more cognizant of what your body is doing to have the best experience, and also give a little energy out too, like cheer on other people. You'll get that energy back twofold for every amount that you give out. Those are my main tips.
I usually, after getting on the bike, besides hydrating, I like to break up the bike into segments because, as everyone knows, I do not like the bike portion of any triathlon. I do the bike to get to the run. That is it.
It's your means to an end.
Yes. I don't.
It's your transportation to the bike or to the run, to the run. Yeah, yeah.
Break it in increments. First 5 minutes, I'm just trying to get my breathing together, just trying to find what feels good, what in terms of the resistance, in terms of my pace. Next 5 minutes, oh, I'm feeling good. Let's just bump it up a notch. And I just try to get a little bit faster every 5 minutes. So that's always been my strategy with it. It's worked for me. Usually the last 2 minutes, I'm trying to go all out.
Nice.
Yes.
My advice is to remember to breathe. Okay. Air is fuel. Oxygen is fuel. So don't forget that, because once you get out there, you're like puffing and puffing. Then sometimes you're like, oh, maybe I need to continue to get some air in, relax your shoulders, and then hammer it out. So now we've gone off the bike. We've done that 20 to 30 minutes on the bike, which is, I believe, fairly standard. We've now gone onto the run. So now there are two formats typically here. More often than not, you're probably going to be running on a treadmill at most facilities and locations.
Or track.
Well, that's where I was going, because then you'd be here where we have the opportunity to be on an indoor track where you're also being able to get a little bit more distance. It's a little bit less, I guess, for those that are not super fans of treadmills, that the indoor track is the least sort of mentally taxing, I guess you could say, of the two options.
It's a more fun experience.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Chase people down, just get outdoor try side by side. A little bit.
So it's about a 15 to 20-minute run to finish. You've already done your bike. You've already done your swim. You're now on the run. What's the goal? What's the focus? What are you telling your athletes?
Number one, shoulders relaxed, core engaged, breathe, and try to get a high turnover. I usually try, if I'm running on a track with someone, i.e. that guy over there, Chris, I try to chase him down. It doesn't work really well. So if you ever watch Captain America and the Winter Soldier, where Sam is running and Cap is like on your left, that is what it feels like to run on the track with.
Aw.
Not all the time. Bad days too.
He is.
I'm whoever Sam is passing. I'm like, on your left, I'm like, okay, see you guys. Like, y'all are doing great.
But I just try to think of, if it was 15 or 20 minutes, I try to think of a number of how many laps I want to do on the track and try to just slowly build. Usually I'm doing about 15 laps on average for that time frame. So every 3 laps, I try to pick up the pace just a little bit. And I pick up the pace a little bit more. I'm usually picking up the pace on the straightaway because that's where you get that free speed. On the treadmill, because I've done both, on the treadmill, I do the same thing. I will start with a set mile per hour pace and then start bumping it up every 3 to 4 minutes.
So you're not going directly to 10.5-minute miles. So.
I go by an old adage I heard from a coach a million years ago. Ease into the swim, ease into your pace into the swim, ease into your pace into the bike, ease into your pace into the run. I'm not trying to go all out, bat out of hell on each one. And it's also a good strategy for later on in the race season. I mean, I'm not a sprinter. It's a long, all my races are long distance. So can I get faster in the, on the second half? Can I negative split? That's always in the back of my head. Can I negative split? can I give it all and still have just a little bit left over from the bike to the run?
Gotcha. Okay. I know I quickly skipped over this. I think mainly just because it is the shortest transition between the two of all the different disciplines, going from the bike to the run. I mean, sometimes that is the case in an actual triathlon, like outdoor like event. But in our indoor tri, there's a shorter amount of time going from bike to run. Usually, like it's cut in half. It's almost like a 5 minutes typically transition. So any advice, because we heard about, okay, well, if I'm going from the swim and maybe in a bathing suit, that's where I'm comfortable swimming. Then I go into transition to the bike. I'm on a bike now. I should probably put on bike shorts. So good, thick, cushiony bike shorts. Then you go into the run. So I think this is where things get a little bit interesting. So recommendations on transitioning from the bike to the run, so that maybe you are not necessarily running in thick bike shorts, unless that is part of the dynamic. But advice, guys, on that transition, like what should indoor triathletes be looking for in terms of like what they should be wearing, or how they should gamify how and what they're wearing going from bike to run?
I mean, usually in indoor tries, you don't have enough time to do a wardrobe change between the bike and the run. So you pretty much have to
Go with what you've got.
go with what you got. And for new triathletes, the one piece of new gear that pretty much everybody needs to look into getting is a pair of triathlon specific shorts. So unlike bike shorts generally have a thick chamois pad to make the bike saddle more cushy when you're on it. But those generally aren't as hydrophobic, like water repellent, and they also have almost too much cushioning for running. And so a pair of tri shorts just has a thinner hydrophobic chamois pad on it that's more comfortable to run in. So you could look at getting that, but if you don't have it, just bike and run whatever you got. Running shorts are fine.
Okay.
But typically in that transition, I definitely recommend one, rehydrating if you have an opportunity to do that, or get a gel in, some type of quick sugar that'll digest quickly as your heart rate's coming down. But also do a little bit, if you can, a little bit of a hip flexor stretch, because on the bike, your hip flexor is a little more compressed. And on the run, you want to be able to open up your stride. So I'll usually try to do a quick kind of hip flexor stretch, like lengthening your stride, just trying to get ready for running, taking advantage of that couple minutes that you have to get ready for the run.
So if they were trying to, like, so again, going back to the wardrobe, if they were trying to decide what they should bring or what they should do the bike in versus the run, are they better suited in like run shorts doing that on the bike than going into the run, or wearing bike specific shorts, and then using those in the run?
That's a good question. I think either way is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll be more uncomfortable on the bike in running shorts. So I would say if you don't have a pair of tri shorts, wearing bike shorts might be the way to go, and you'll just run in your bike shorts for 15 minutes.
Okay. All right. Good advice.
Tri shorts, and I have done compression running shorts, and I just might not think so, but whatever you have in your closet, wear it.
Maybe not. Yeah, maybe not overthink it and just do the best with what you got. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, Chris, you also allude to like the sort of the thing that most triathletes experience, especially when they do it for the first time, is like feeling that they have no legs coming off the bike, going in the run. Like I feel like I'm running like I'm through mud, through molasses and peanut butter. Like, use your descriptors. But for those that may have not experienced that, doing a indoor tri for the first time, in addition to maybe like loosening up those hip flexors, any other advice on like or sort of any sort of tips on like how to prepare for, understand, or be aware of that coming and that first couple of minutes on the run?
Biggest thing is actually what you do on the bike, and then the last couple of minutes bike, just like an outdoor triathlon. Don't go into a really hard gear and try to crank out
like this one that does in the last 2 minutes, 5 minutes.
If you put a really hard gear on and you lower your cadence, your legs are going to feel really heavy when you get on the run.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can increase the intensity is fine as long as you keep your cadence high. You want your cadence to be similar to what you're going to be running in, just to get your body used to it. So keeping your cadence at 90 revolutions per minute or higher usually is a good tip as you're finishing off the bike. And then when you're starting the run, if you're on a treadmill, I like to look at the cadence by looking at the clock. Every time 1 second ticks by on the clock on the treadmill, you want to try to count 3 steps. If you can get 3 steps in every second, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Your running cadence.
So waltz, like do a waltz on the run. Okay.
Get a song, get some music to listen to, or whatnot, and establish that cadence first in the beginning of the run. Don't worry about your speed, just worry about your cadence, for the first couple of minutes, and then you can build it and kind of lengthen out your stride and go a little bit harder later on. But if you don't establish that cadence early, you're more likely to struggle later on. The higher the cadence, generally, the greater the efficiency is of your running form. So getting that early cadence established, if you're on a running track, which if you're doing indoor tries in this area, like the Northwestern one is on an indoor track, East Bank Club has an indoor try that's on a track. A lot of bigger health clubs will have indoor tracks. Focus on just pumping your arms shorter and quicker, take short, quick steps, and then gradually begin to open things up as you go along.
Okay. Find your stride, find a rabbit or Sam to run around. Use what's in your closet, do the best you can with the gear that you have. Maybe not overthink it, but again, like if you've never done these before, I wholeheartedly believe that an indoor try is a great entry point into the sport because again, like all you need is, again, like some good workout clothes, a good pair of run shoes, and a bathing suit and some goggles, and you're kind of off to the races. And just remember to bring stuff to keep yourself fueled, keep yourself hydrated, remember to breathe. And as Coach Joy has given as far as some good advice, build into each one of those disciplines, build into the swim, find your pace, find your cadence, do what your race, your pace, and do what you feel comfortable with. Don't worry about what other people are doing, unless you're Coach Joy and you're trying to race people the whole time, which is also okay. But if you're doing it for the first time, just use that first event to really just sort of get a feel for it, understand, and allow yourself the time to be able to go from one thing to the next. Ask volunteers and the coaches and event coordinators there as many questions as you feel needed, where you feel comfortable. Get the lay of the land, which is also a great thing, a great piece of advice going into any triathlon. Get a lay of like what the facility is, where transition looks like, how to get in and out of there. All those things is getting your bearings as to what the facility or the format is, and have some fun, like smile, enjoy, have a good time. And there's going to be more of these between the ones that we produce, between Grit Endurance, Northwestern, Experience Tribe. There's so many other great groups that put these on for this reason, and it's not just for their own groups, for their own teams. They are open to the public for the most part. So if you hear of any of these, we're going to put the descriptions and links down below for all the ones that we currently do have dates and registration information for. So feel free to reach out to them, ask them questions, ask us questions, and let us know if you've experienced one of these before. What has been your experience? What did you enjoy? What did you find out about yourself, about racing? How many have you done? So please let us know in the comments below. Trust me, we are going to be looking for these comments. We want to interact and engage with you guys out there in our community. So let us know. What has been your best indoor try? What did you like the most about it? What was your favorite event? What was your favorite group that put it on? How was that format? And because if we can all improve those events, then we're going to continue to do our best for you guys out there in that regard. So Coach Chris, Coach Joy, any other parting thoughts about indoor triathlon and its integration into off-season training?
Yeah, I mean, get signed up for them. Look for them. Sometimes they're hard to find. Reach out to your local health clubs and whatnot. We're actually going to try to get as much, like you mentioned, information on the try312.com website. Both our own events that we do, but also other events that we know about. We'd love to create a central repository of indoor tries, especially in the Midwest area. I know we're talking to some other health clubs, even out in the suburbs like Lamont, Chicago Athletic Clubs. There's some all over Chicago, but sometimes they aren't announced until about a month before, unfortunately. So a lot of the smaller ones. So yeah, just keep your eyes peeled and have fun. And if you're someone who works at a health club, fitness center, or whatnot that is interested in doing an indoor tri, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to give our own advice and recommendations.
Or help you facilitate.
Yeah. So definitely either way, let us know, comment, like, put links and info, or shoot us an email. And yeah, look forward to doing them. My goal usually in the off season, I like to benchmark my fitness once a month with some type of event through the winter season, just to maintain that motivation. And there are literally indoor tries at least every 2 weeks throughout winter time in the Chicago area. So if you can't find them, reach out. We'll point you in the right direction.
Cool. And Coach Joey, any parting thoughts?
Just sign up for it. Just do it.
And some of them have duathlons too. So
there you go.
Do, try to try.
And with that, guys, thank you all so much for a wonderful chat about indoor triathlon. And we look forward to seeing you guys out there at ours or other indoor tri events. And for the Tri 312 Network, for me, Coach Brian, Coach Joy, Coach Chris, thank you guys for being here. And we'll see you on the next Multi-Sport Monthly. Hey guys, thank you all so much for being here with our Tri 312 community. We are trying to get to 312, our 312 number for subscribers for next year. So that will help us greatly to grow our community, grow our support, and grow our ability to help provide information and news and updates and all sorts of things that we will hope to provide for our Tri 312 network. So please like, subscribe, comment, and all of our stuff here below. And we look forward
Share.
and share with all of your friends. And we look forward to seeing you at the next Tri 312 event.